Welcome to English literature class, my dear students. Now start from here. Page number 68. God takes even his own ambassadors, but he did not do so before allowing Bishop Heathcote to complete a will, leaving the statue to his son, with his grandfather's exact instructions carefully repeated. The bishop's son, Captain James Heathcote, was a serving officer in his grandfather's regiment. So the Ming statue returned to the mess table in Halifax. During the emperor's absence, the regimental trophies had been augmented by those struck for vipers, the Marne and Verdun. The regiment was once again at war with Germany, and young Captain James Heathcote was killed on the beaches of Dunkirk and died intestate. Thereafter, English law, the known wishes of his great grandfather, and common sense prevailed, and the little emperor came into the possession of the captain's 2-year-old son. Now the statue was in the 2-year-old son's hand. Alex Heathcote was, alas, not of the metal spirit of his dufty means brave, bold ancestors, and he grew up feeling no desire to serve anyone other than himself. He was a very selfish man. He had no desire to serve anyone other than himself. When Captain James had been so tragically killed, Alexander's mother lavished everything. Lavishly. She spent lavishly everything on the boy. Squandered the money on the boy that her meager income would allow. Though the income was very low, but she spent much money and spent lavishly on him. It didn't help, and it was not entirely young Alex's fault that he grew up to be, in the words of his grandmother, a selfish, spoiled little brat. Unruly brat, unruly boy. Alex Heathcote became a selfish, spoiled, unruly boy. When Alex left school, only a short time before he would have been expelled, he found he could never hold down a job for more than a few weeks. It always seemed necessary for him to spend a little more than he and finally his mother could cope with, manage with. The good lady, deciding she could take no more of this life, departed it to join all the other Heathcote. She died, departed to join all the other Heathcotes, not in Yorkshire but in heaven. In the swinging 60s, when casinos opened in Britain, young Alex was convinced that he had found the ideal way of earning a living without actually having to do any work. He was very idle person, very dull. He did not want to do any work. He wanted to earn money without doing any work. He developed a system for playing roulette, a game of chance. Roulette, a game of chance, with which it was impossible to lose. He did lose, so he refined the system and promptly lost more. He refined the system once again, which resulted in him having to borrow to cover his losses. Why not? If the worst came to the worst, he told himself, he could always dispose of the little Ming emperor. Now, he thought that if the worst came to the worst, no problem, he would sell, he would auction the statue of little Ming emperor. Now the story turns here. The worst did come to the worst, as each one of Alex's newly refined system took him progressively into greater debt, until the casinos began to press him for payment. When finally on one Monday morning Alex received an unsolicited, not requested call from two gentlemen who seemed determined to collect some 8,000 pounds he owed their masters, and hinted at bodily harm if the matter was not dealt with within 14 days. Pressure was put upon him that he should pay the money within 14 days. Alex caved in. After all, his great-great-grandfather's instruction had been exact. The Ming statue was to be sold if the family honor was ever at stake. And same thing happened here. Alex took the little emperor off the mantelpiece in his Cadogan Gardens flat and stared down at its delicate handiwork, at least having the grace to feel a little sad at the loss of the family heirloom. He then drove to Bond Street and delivered the masterpiece to Sotheby's, giving instructions that the emperor should be put up for the auction. The head of the Oriental department, a pale, thin man, appeared at the front desk to discuss the masterpiece with Alex. Looking not unlike the Ming statue he was holding so lovingly in his hand. He was doubtful. He was in doubt whether the statue was from Ming dynasty or not. So he was holding so lovingly the statue in his hand. It will take a few days to estimate the true value of the piece, he said, but I feel confident on a cursory glance that the statue is as fine an example of pen Q as we have ever had under the hammer. Under the auction. That's no problem, replied Alex, as long as you can let me know what it's worth within 14 days. You tell me what is its value within 14 days. Oh, certainly, replied the expert. I feel sure I could give you a floor price by Friday. A rough idea. Couldn't be better, said Alex. During that week, he contacted all his creditors, and without exception, they were prepared to wait and learn the appraisal of the expert. Alex duly returned to Bond Street on the Friday with a large smile on his face. He knew what his great-great-grandfather had paid for the piece and felt sure that the statue must be worth more than 10,000 pounds. A sum that would not only give him enough to cover all his debts, but leave him a little over to try out his new refined system on the roulette table. He thought that he would be able to pay all his debts, and after that some money would be left with him to play the game of roulette. As he climbed the steps of Sotheby's, Alex silently thanked his great-great-grandfather. He asked the girl on reception if he could speak to the head of the Oriental department. She picked up an internal phone, and the expert appeared a few moments later at the front desk with a somber look on his face. Alex's heart sank as he listened to his words. A nice little piece, your emperor, but unfortunately a fake. That that statue was fake, probably about 250 years old, but only a copy of the original. That was not the original statue of Ming Dynasty. I am afraid copies were often made because. How much is it worth? Interrupted an anxious, worried Alex. 700 pounds, 800 at the most. Enough to buy a gun and some bullets, thought Alex sardonically, scornfully, mockingly, as he turned and started to walk away. The value of the statue was very less. I wonder, sir, continued the expert. Yes, sell the bloody thing. I don't want, said Alex, without bothering to look back. And what do you want me to do with this base? The base? Repeated Alex, turning around to the face of the Orientalist. Yes, the base. It is quite magnificent. 15th century, undoubtedly a work of genius. I can't imagine how. Lot number 103, announced the auctioneer. What am I bid for this magnificent example of? The spot turned out to be right in his assessment. At the auction at Sotheby's that Thursday morning, I obtained the little emperor for 720 guineas, and the base that was acquired by an American gentleman of not unknown parentage for 22,000 guineas. 22,000 guineas was the cost of the base because it was original, and only 700 pounds, 800 at the most, he got for the statue. It was the story of the Chinese statue that you studied, and if you have any problem, you please ask me. Thank you so much.